These tomatoes are definitely getting ready. Getting close to the avocado is growing every day. It's doing that bottom soak from the apple tree really got it to push out some new growth. The largest pumpkin we have climbed over the fence, if you remember. It's probably grown like 2 foot since yesterday, because here it comes. It was somewhere around there, so 2 foot plus in one day. It was doing like 10 to 12 inches a day. I guess it found some I had to coax it kind of to get it over here in the sunlight a little more. I tried it like twice. It kind of fell back, and then when it finally took hold, now it's doing another like flush of growth, and it's like whew, crawling everywhere. Hard to tell where it's gonna go. Maybe I should push it back over the fence and keep it on top of the fence there. So here is how our raised arborists aged wood chip bed, alternative bed looks like so far. I really should try to walk on it and see how dense it is. Here we go. We'll see if I break my leg on camera. Wow. It's a little hairy, but this thing has got some density to it. Wow. Kind of worry about air pockets, but man, this is holding my big butt up decently. I did not expect that. So it definitely has a good density to it, and I would have thought that I would have fell through some air pockets, and it's still possible. There's probably air pockets in there, but wow. Almost every day I at least throw some weeds or something like that on it, and then I just pull up so it gives it more of that green nitrogen, to feed the the worms and stuff that we put in there. They probably dug pretty deep, to keep in an area where they're moist, so they don't, worms don't like to be dried out. So, but this is so big, there are going to be pretty much moisture areas somewhere, all throughout the bed. This is, I don't know how tall it is. 1.5, 2 foot at the tallest. Kite flying around. I think he had something in his mouth earlier. These guys have been flying around everywhere lately. Must have a nest. Look at this. There's already like passion fruit forming, or maypops, just from those little flowers. That's so strange to me to see like a fully formed fruit right after a flower. So strange, because I've tried maypops, I think twice at least, with probably three different plants, maybe 4. They never got to the stage of where they flowered at all. And I put it in wetlands on one, and here it goes, just thriving, growing, blooming, and now it's got little maypop fruit on it. I was talking a couple weeks ago, and probably on several videos, about how the Meyer lemon and a variety of other citrus were reblooming again. And I noticed like a week or 2 back that the white grapefruit had some blooms on it. I went back and looked, and I couldn't find them. But here's the little fruit from the new blooms. Now the fruit should be somewhere around this size for the original blooms. Maybe a third the size of a large one, maybe a quarter. But yeah, it rebloomed after these 2 freezes we had. What's really strange is it's not just citrus. I just looked the other day on one of the little root sucker jujubes, which has 2 little fruits on it. It's forming flower blooms again. And we'll probably, if I can remember, I'll post a little video showing that at the end of this video, maybe. Now we can look at the progress of, this thing is hard to find. Right there, our pineapple guava fruit. I think it's possibly the only one on here. We had 4 flowers. One of them seemed like it was too old. I thought we might have got 2 or 3 pollinated. And if there is, it's still possible. These things are really hard to find. They're very camouflaged. You have to, like, you can look over them a lot before you find it. Even when you know where the fruit is in the general area, it's hard to find. Cool wildflowers that come up every year in these really like shady wetlands here. Very pretty. Little woodpecker. So here is the jujube that has the fruit on it, the little root sucker. And look at them two little balls right there. Those are flower heads that are going to open up soon. So yeah, these weird weather patterns or whatever kind of cause things to multiple bloom, you know, when they're not normally supposed to do like 2 blooming periods, you know, just a few months. So we've been doing a lot of planting and trying to keep up with the watering of plants when the sun is beating down on them and they're not getting enough water. But as far as yard maintenance and stuff, even some of the stuff for the garden, haven't really been able to get to because the mosquitoes are so bad out here. I mean, we don't even really want to be planting and digging out here and stopping for more than like 2 seconds. For example, that like 20-25 foot sweet gum there is not where it's supposed to be. We needed to cut that down a long time ago. We got another sweet gum and maybe another little oak tree that's just came up in the wrong spot, and that's going to be a lot of good chop and drop material, but if it gets too big, it could be a big problem here. Actually, I guess we can talk about pawpaws briefly, hopefully. Actually, I made a video the other day. It ended up being 13-14 minutes long, and it was all about pawpaws. Just too long. The previous video took over 2 days to upload. I said, well, I got to get on with our gardening vlog stuff and, you know, get other subjects and, you know, daily routines out of the way, I guess. So I looked back at my notes and seen that I'd been working with pawpaws or experimenting with them since probably 2002, which is over 21 years ago. And I tried potentially dozens, you know, 30, 50, before I got one that survived. And then just because one survived doesn't mean it thrived. You know, I planted them in every location, high, low, shady, you know, root dense, you know, more sandy, you know, everywhere, and under oak trees or whatever. A few of them hung on for years and years and years and started losing growth until they eventually went to the ground and never came back up, you know, 5, 6, 8 years, whatever. Our largest Tennessee seedling currently was kind of one that just did not put out much growth for years and years and years. It was already an older plant, I think, when we got it at probably 3 foot, somewhere along that. But, you know, eventually it just started getting a lot of growth each year. And when it hit, you know, I don't know, 8, 10 foot, it started blooming. And it was probably 18 plus years old by then. The failures we had initially over the first 5 or 8 years had been easy just to say, okay, we're done. But from what we read and on it, you know, the kind of like border on wetlands, the kind of like wetter areas, shady areas, you know, we got forests everywhere, lots of shade, lots of places where a lot of plants do not thrive. Even though, you know, we found out later that, you know, people kind of, if they can establish pawpaws in full sun, protecting them for the first 2 or 3 seasons, they'll do better, produce more fruit, blah, 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 blah. in all of our research, this should be a decent area, other than it being, you know, a little further south than their native range. So you may not get the same production here, or you might have to pick certain cultivars that will get their chill hours met or whatever. I'm going to like just go back into the whole story of things I've already said, but according, you know, during the last video I said that we need to be able to produce seedlings to graft onto stuff, you know, to diversify. And we haven't so far been able to produce seedlings, and this is our second attempt. But the next best thing is when they form their own thickets of root suckers. And we've been waiting a long time. It seems like not every cultivar or every genetic plant is keen on doing major root suckering. But, you know, the Panhandle Tallahassee seedling seems to be throwing out root suckers about every 4 foot, and it seems to be happening like crazy now. Our mango pawpaw, I think, is starting to do root suckers. So out of all the, you know, 12 or 15 or whatever genetically different pawpaws we have right now, we only have potentially, well, three, and the Tennessee seedlings is throwing, you know, maybe one a year out. So we got 3 genetic plants throwing, you know, root suckers out, and with the Panhandle seedling seeming to be like it's on fire, it's ready to go. It's just, you know, throwing them out like crazy. Worst comes to worst, those 3 plants that are throwing root suckers out can be grafting material, as long as they throw them out where we can use them, and not like right next to another tree or somewhere, you know, in a bad spot. I mean, technically you can try to move root suckers, you know, clip the mother root from it, you know, on year 1, pull it out carefully on year 2, but that is not really what we want to do, you know. But we want to be able to just, here's the thing that I've noticed with the root suckers. The root suckers grow way faster than if you plant a grafted or seedling tree in the ground. They're taking their nutrients from the mother plant, and they're just going into this super growth mode, and they seem to grow really fast, way faster than, like I said, when you put one into the ground. So that gives you a root stock for grafting probably within 1 season, instead of having a 2 or 3 year old plant to graft onto like these nurseries do. Wildlife time. Another snake here. I don't know what's wrong with his left eye cap there. If it's missing his eye, or if he's got a bad shed on it. I seen this banded water snake the other day, just a few feet from here. Since I found a source to buy grafting wood online for pretty cheap, if I have, you know, 10 root suckers ready by next year, and sometimes they branch out and they have 2 or 3 or 4 branches that are capable of holding a graft each, and each grafting piece of wood will graft, you know, at least 2. You got at least 2 attempts to graft, sometimes 3 on them. So that would allow me to bring in, you know, maybe 3 or 4 genetically different plants by next year. Maybe more, maybe less. And of course that means if the graft is successful, we'll have them. If the grafts aren't successful, it'll be less. But I think that's about it for this video. I just want to briefly talk about the pawpaws with everything else without making a 15-minute video just about them. All right, take care.